one community. I now host Right on Four Corners every Wednesday, 10:30 to 11, when I'll talk to local and regional authors. So please join me Wednesdays here on 90.9 FM KSJE Farmington.
KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, which is officially baby-friendly. This evidence-based initiative is designed to support mother-baby bonding and optimal infant feeding practices by upholding the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding. San Juan Regional Medical Center, officially baby-friendly, and serving the Four Corners since 1910. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, November 14th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Micklin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE. 90.9 FM over the air in San Juan County, New Mexico. 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and everywhere streaming at KSJE.com. Also, welcome to our viewers who are joining the program this morning by watching the live video stream going out to the KSJE YouTube channel and to our Facebook page. Welcome aboard, everyone. We are glad that you are with us as well. Coming up this hour, in the next few moments, I'll be talking economic development with my guest, Arvin Trujillo from Four Corners Economic Development here in San Juan County. He'll be giving us an update on some of the projects that we have been talking about recently and some of his other goals and strategic plans for the months and weeks ahead. It's all coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE, so stay right where you are. Then later on, we will round out the 8 o'clock hour, as we do on Thursdays, talking about the economy. Jason Calcote is going to be my guest from Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation. Jason will be here to talk a little bit about some of the economic stories that we've been hearing about this week and the outlook on how the markets are doing and some other things to keep an eye on. That's coming up later on this hour at 8:55 right here on KSJE. Roving with the Arts, up next at 9 a.m., Mick Hess will be here playing music of John Williams and the great cellist Yo-Yo Ma, coming up at 9:06 right here on KSJE. Don't forget, of course, to connect with us on social media if that's where you spend some of your time. We're on Facebook, of course. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow KSJE on Twitter and check us out on Instagram as well. Reminder, next week, it's a special week of programming right here on KSJE. It's our DJ for a Day. It all starts Monday, November 18th. San Juan College President Dr. Tony Hopper Pendergrass is our lead DJ for a day. We're turning the radio station over to lots of local personalities who get to program their own radio show for an hour each and every day next week. Some of the other folks we've invited and who will be planning a show for us, George Sharp and T. Greg Marion will be here. Also, Farmington Police Chief Stephen Hebe. Also, San Juan County Sheriff Shane Ferrari, and much, much more. You can see the complete schedule on our website at ksje.com. And that reminds me to remind you that now is a great time to support this radio station. We do two major fundraisers each year, and this is one of them. So if you've been thinking about becoming a member of KSJE and helping us financially, now is the time to do it. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website again for all of the details, ksje.com/support. Here's our weather forecast. It's going to be mostly sunny today with a high of 59 degrees, 30 overnight tonight, partly sunny tomorrow with a high of 63 on Friday, 62 on Saturday, sunny and cooler on Sunday with a high of 56, 60 and sunshine on Monday and Tuesday of next week, but maybe a shower towards the middle to end of next week. We'll keep an eye on that for you as well. We always say visual radio can take you places. This morning we'll take you over to the Topeka, Kansas Zoo. This is their giraffe cam, and we get to kind of keep an eye on the 3 adult giraffes, and there's one baby giraffe hiding out in the back there. You can kind of see him. Now he just walked behind his mom. But there he goes. And they are wandering around at the Topeka, Kansas Zoo this morning, part of our visual radio technology here at KSJE. If you are looking for something to do this weekend, we remind you about the KSJE Regional Events Calendar at KSJE.com. There's always lots of things going on in Farmington, but our calendar includes events that are happening in the region. But taking a look at some of the things going on, a San Juan College Orchestra concert coming up tomorrow night, November 15th, here at the Henderson Performance Hall. You can get details about that on our regional events calendar. A big event at the Farmington Civic Center tomorrow night. It is the Blue Note Records 80th birthday celebration. A great evening of music, entertainment, some great jazz, of course. And this is a touring group that is performing in places like Nashville, Tennessee, and Tempe, Arizona, and also coming to Farmington, New Mexico. Some great stellar entertainment coming to Farmington, so we encourage you to check that out as well at the Farmington Civic Center tomorrow evening. San Juan College Veterans Benefit Ball happening on November the 16th this weekend at the Henderson Fine Arts Center, so we remind you about that. The Polar Express up and running in downtown Durango, that is happening as well. The Turkey Trot Trap Shoot Tournament at the San Juan Wildlife Federation. Details about that on our website at ksje.com. St. Mary's Parish Hall in Bloomfield having a craft fair on the 16th this week. Amy's Bookcase welcoming author Nancy Bo Flood on November 16th as well. So again, lots of things to check out, lots of things to take advantage of. Just go to our regional events calendar at ksje.com. Thursday morning here on KSJE, and joining me in our visual radio studio to talk a little bit about economic development efforts here in San Juan County. Arvin Trujillo is back with me, the Executive Director of Four Corners Economic Development. Good morning. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Scott. It's good to be here.
Good to have you back, of course. And
Yes.
6 months on the job, I think we were just talking about this. Huh?
Yes.
Look at that. Time flies.
It does.
Okay. Well, congratulations
Well,
on 6
thank
months
you.
under your belt. And so give us a little bit of an update. I know you've got a lot of things that you've been wanting to accomplish and working towards accomplishing, which we'll be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you feel 6 months in?
Well, I feel real good. When I first started, I was really looking at three major areas. One was getting a strategic direction together for the organization.
Right.
The other one was really beginning to build on our regional partnership and our regional outreach. And the third was really was to identify projects that would foster that regional partnership or that collaboration within the region here. So we're working hard in those three areas.
Okay. And that is important, again, to establish right off the bat, is it not? So that everybody kind of knows what direction the organization is moving in. I mean, I know you follow the direction from the board, but they can see what you're doing and tell
Right.
you if they agree or don't agree or whatever. But everybody kind of moving in the same direction, which is really important, is it not?
Moving in the same direction and really building that base.
Mm-hmm.
We're wanting to see how we can diversify and how we can encourage and promote new economic development here in the area. But the goal or the aspects of this effort is to build that base from which we can grow from.
Right. And so for Four Corners Economic Development, you have a strategic plan that you are working on, and again,
Yes.
developing that as well, right?
Yes. What we did is I brought in 7 individuals on our board and from our general community who I felt were key stakeholders in the region, and they were quite diverse, looking at different aspects here in the county. And we had a series of discussions, I think probably met over 60, 70 hours. And through that, we came back.
Not all at once. You split that up.
Not all at once. No,
They lock
we
you
did
in a
that over
room?
4 weeks.
Okay. Good.
And 4 weeks, and then work off
Sure.
off the line there. But at the end of that time, we came up with a mission statement, and we came up with 5 strategic goals that we really want to focus on. And then that was presented to the executive board and the board for their initial approval. And now we then took those 5 strategic areas, and those areas where we've been looking at are partnerships, organizational development and effectiveness, business retention, expansion, and recruitment, workforce capacity, and data collection.
Okay.
We've taken those areas. These individuals have continued in their effort by being team leaders. We've broken each of these areas up into teams, and now taking those key strategic goals, we are now focusing on developing objectives and action plans on how we're going to achieve those goals.
Got it. And so, and again, this is all important because everybody can then see where things are headed, what's happening, who's working on what, and then have some accountability to report back to you, to your board, I guess, on how things are coming, right?
That's correct. I mean, it gives us a good idea as to where we are. How do we report back? How do we know we're succeeding in what we're doing? But more importantly, by getting the community and our own board and our investors involved, this gets everybody involved. People become committed to meeting those goals, meeting that mission, and again, looking at ways on how we can build our economic viability here in the region, because it's just not focused on one individual or one organization or one particular civic group that is going to do this work. It's going to take everybody working on this.
Sure. And now, of these strategic goals that you talked about, the only one that it's not ringing a bell with me is this data collection. Is that a new one, or is that something I just wasn't paying attention to probably the last time you told me about it?
Well, I think it's kind of hidden there. What we were looking at there is we have a unique area here in the Four Corners region. And when you go and look at economic development data, they're split up by counties and they're split up by states. So as you begin to look at that, they're very state specific. But here in the Four Corners area, we are basically an entity unto ourselves. I mean, our main, our partners in economic viability are Southwest Colorado, Southeast Utah, and Northeast Arizona. You know, we don't really connect to the rest of the state of New Mexico, other than the fact that in the past, that the oil and gas and the coal that was generated here, the revenues and the taxes and all of that spread across the state.
We sure connect that way. That's right. That's true.
But again, there was no economic connection with the rest of the state.
Right.
But we have a lot of connection with Durango, with Cortez, with Blanding, with Bluff, with Aneth,
right,
with Kayenta. We have a lot more connection with those areas here in the Four Corners than we do, and vice versa. Those areas also have connections here to Northwest New Mexico more than they do to Denver or areas outside Southwest Colorado or going into Utah or even into Arizona. And so that's what I'm looking at with data collection. How do we collect data that will be specific to the Four Corners area?
So I guess you could think of it as maybe regional data. So you're pulling in an apples to apples data too, so you're not trying to compare two different things, but pulling it in from these different entities in different states and counties and using it as one Four Corners market as you then promote the area to other places.
Promoting and branding ourselves and finding ways that will help market the Four Corners area much more effectively.
Right. And so then I guess you can tell us, you know, what the workforce is like in the region, what the training is like, what the education level is like, all those different questions that maybe today we really can't put our finger on easily.
Exactly. We kind of estimate.
Right.
Because we have the state information, but then we kind of guess at the rest on how it would interact with what we're doing here.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that explains that fifth goal to me. So thank you for doing that. And so with these teams, they're leading these different goal areas. They're going to be presenting their results next week. Is that what's happening?
At our regular board meeting on November 20th. Their efforts in developing the objectives and in some cases the action plans, but mainly looking at the objectives and what they see as important. They're going to be giving presentations on that to the full board so that everybody can see what is happening within those teams, what areas they're beginning to look at, and we can start building accountability on what is being done. Are we seeing progress? Are we seeing effective results as we move forward with our strategic effort? And this is going to be an ongoing thing as we continue with our goal teams.
Got it. But this will be the first meeting that they're reporting back to? Is that the idea?
Yes. And again, I'm open to other folks coming in to listen, to hear what the teams have come up with, look at our strategic effort, And again, the idea here is we don't look at ourselves as the know-it-alls here, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the region together, especially San Juan County. And the more people we have involved in this, the better our information is going to be.
Sure.
And the better our goals and our efforts will be.
Right. So this meeting is open to other folks, too, if they want to come.
Yeah.
It's next Wednesday, 7:30
Next
a.m.?
Wednesday at 7:30 a.m. They can call my assistant, Cecilia Gunnell,
Okay.
at 505-566-3702, just to let her know that you would like to come, so we have enough seating.
Right.
And we have things accommodated. So
Okay. It's going to be up here at the Quality Center for
it'll be
Business.
at the Quality Center for Business.
Just
That's
off
correct.
the main campus here, but very close.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that. That's the first of many, I know, reports, right,
Yes.
that you'll be hearing about. And then one of the things I know that your predecessor did was these future forums. They were held in 2017 and 2018.
Yes.
And you want to build on some of that as well. And that was an idea more of a regional scope as well.
Yes. Again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build that regional outlook. We're looking at ourselves not only as San Juan County, but we are a part of the Four Corners area. And so we need to begin to build our efforts to reach out and begin to better understand what the other communities want to do, understand what their challenges are, what some of their goals are, what they would aspire to try to achieve. Because in many cases, what we're finding is we're finding a lot of common ground between a lot of our communities within the states, within the counties. And as we look at this collectively, there are really some areas I think that we can partner in and become more effective and find ways to achieve what in the past we found very difficult to achieve. Because in some cases, we end up competing against ourselves rather than coming together and working as one unit to achieve some of the bigger areas like infrastructure development.
Right.
And so that's what we're looking at there.
And by working with these other entities, these are entities maybe in other states, other counties, correct, that you're talking about?
And other tribes.
And tribes too, right?
Yes.
Certainly. But having that unified approach, we talked about this before, I know too, and having 8 U.S. senators rather than 2 U.S. senators can always be a good thing if we're talking about the same thing, right?
Exactly. And it builds that essence of working with one another for a beneficial good. Because in my discussions around the county, unfortunately, we've kind of developed through the years, we've developed our own little DMZ here, a little demilitarized zone, which I call the San Juan River.
Right.
Everything south of the river we call the Navajo Nation. Everything north of the river we call San Juan County. Well, we're all San Juan County. And so again, it's bridging those gaps and understanding each other and finding ways that we can work together, because we've talked about that, like with the petrochemical plant, some of the things we're doing with the broadband piece.
Sure.
Those things, it becomes essential to not only work with the Navajo Nation, but with other entities here. And so again, we're wanting to foster and build that collaborative spirit
Sure.
amongst ourselves.
Well, and we certainly know that some of the negative or challenging things that affect our economy don't stop at the San Juan River, so neither should the positive things.
That's correct.
I mean, it
That's
makes sense to me. So, another thing I want to ask you about, Arvin Trujillo from Four Corners Economic Development, is the recognition from some other entities around the state and around the country, right? You're getting
Yes.
some recognition, right?
People are beginning to notice what we're doing. We've got the National Association of Counties, who we started really working with them back in 2015. But we've received some recognition from them. We've received awards from the International Economic Development Council on some of the regional initiatives, as well as some of the work-related initiatives that we've been working on since 2012. And just recently, I was a part of the Western Governor Association's work session on regional economic development initiatives. It's a work session that was developed by their current chairman, who is the governor of North Dakota. And he's calling that reimagining the rural West. And so they've been looking at different different initiatives that have been started throughout the western areas, looking at the changes in economics, what are communities doing, how are they addressing those areas. And they were very interested in what we've been doing with the Future Forum, our regional development, and how we're beginning to tackle the issue of transitioning our economy, looking at the challenges that we have with the oil and gas as well as the coal industry, making their transitions at this point.
Right. And so with that, that's got to be encouraging that they're noticing what you're doing, what you're talking about, and giving you some feedback and hopefully watching carefully.
It is encouraging because, again, a lot of them are. There's certain aspects that a lot of them are agreeing that that's the right way to do things. Others are really looking at us saying, you know, we never thought of approaching it in that fashion. Can you help us understand some of these areas? And so, again, I've been speaking with folks, and I'm there learning from them just as they're learning from us. Because, again, no one really has that silver bullet, that one answer that will resolve all our issues. But collectively, looking at all the different ways that we can achieve the end goal, I think everybody is in support of one another to help the different communities here in rural Western U.S. to make those transitions and to begin to move forward economically as we see the economy change.
Sure. And it's not just changing here, I think, which is sometimes what we lose track of. It's changing elsewhere. I think that's no secret that even in La Plata County, Colorado, they're having some budget challenges too because of the changing economies.
You know, there's things happening all over the place. And people are beginning to recognize that more and more. And again, you're looking at not only the coal and the gas industry that we're focused on, but you look at retail. I mean, we just recently saw in the paper the closings of more Kmart's and Sears, which were stalwart retail
stores for 100 years or more. That's right.
Now they're doing different things. In Golden, the Coors Corporation's moving out of Golden and they're moving to Chicago now. I mean, we see traditional industries in certain areas are transitioning. They're looking at different areas. They're looking at having to make changes in order to continue their operations. And so again, this aspect of economic development is something that everybody is beginning to understand, and they understand that as these changes happen, we have to change with that too, and we've got to find those answers. And quite frankly, there again, as I indicated, there is no silver bullet. There is no one answer that will say this will resolve all your issues, but it's looking at a myriad of strategies and looking at a number of different aspects as you build those building blocks in order to achieve that vitality that you need within your given region.
Sure, which makes it all the more complicated, I guess. If there isn't one thing that stands out or one silver bullet, one magic wand that you can just wave it and make it all better everywhere. So
and it depends on the region that you're in too.
Well, of course.
And so again, that's where we're focusing on that aspect of education here in the region, because economic development is just not one entity. It's not just Four Corners Economic Development working on this. It's not just San Juan County or the city of Farmington or Bloomfield, Aztec, the town of Kirtland working on this, or it's just not the chamber or, you know, the different civic organizations that we have working on this. It's us all working together because we all have our areas where we have the abilities to really bring benefit and bring advantages and bring strengths to our efforts as a municipality, as a county, and as a part of a state, and as a part of the Four Corners, in order to build this effort to brand ourselves, to market ourselves, to get ourselves work ready so that we're ready for opportunities, and to be able to recruit as a region in order to achieve some of the results we'd like to see going into the future.
Very true. And again, for some of these smaller communities that you mentioned, many of them maybe can't afford to have a full-fledged economic development department, and so they're able to maybe pool their monies
Yes.
together in order to support Force Ed, in order to do hopefully some economic development for everybody.
Right.
And that's the idea behind the whole
And yeah,
cooperative structure, right?
Exactly.
And they have
It's-
representation on your board, and so you work on their behalf in addition to the greater good.
That's right.
So
That's right.
let me ask you a bit again. We talked about data collection, and that is something that the college can help with. Is that kind of your idea, and
Yeah,
some others in the state?
Right. What I'm looking at right now is we've been having initial discussions that includes both San Juan College and New Mexico Tech. We're in the very preliminary aspects of forging a partnership to see how we can begin to look at data collection, how we can look at research, how we can bring these aspects together. In talking with New Mexico Tech, there are a number of students who are from the San Juan County area, and they've been talking to those students, and they're very interested in seeing how can they help.
Sure, right,
How can they be a part of this, because they still see this as home,
right.
and are there ways that they can utilize their education or their expertise to assist us? And so we're looking at that, and this gives an opportunity for students also to learn and to develop their skills as they begin to look at a number of these complex issues, and really give them some real world issues and problems that we have to tackle, and they're a part of finding solutions towards those challenges.
Right, and giving you this reliable data that we're
And
talking
giving
about
us
too.
the data we need. That's
that
correct.
you want to use. The other thing that you're mentioning here too to me before we came on the air this morning, these labor clusters in San Juan County. So explain to us what that means.
Okay, right now we still have that disconnect in terms of figuring out what do the local businesses and even industries need, and what are we training and educating our youth and our college students in. And so these labor clusters are ways for us to look at different areas like the retail business, maybe automotive, maybe industrial processing, healthcare, IT, finding these clusters and getting feedback from individuals in the community to say, this is what we're looking for, this is what we need, here's the type of support we're looking for, here's the type of education we think our first-time employees need to have as they come into our particular area of business. And so by having this and being able then to communicate that more effectively to our schools, even starting at the high school level, that would help kids begin to determine, what is my career going to be? What area would I have interest in? I want to stay here and live in the Four Corners region. What areas do they need? And so again, it's looking at that and finding what are those gaps in between training, education, and the actual business world, and how do we close those gaps so that we have good opportunities. So as people are finishing their education aspects, they're now in a position to be marketable. They're now in positions to find jobs, and when they go into a job, they are now an asset to that particular company or business. And again, it just begins to build that whole workforce acumen for the whole region.
Sure, and it seems like we see some of that already, and we've seen some of that in the past when
Yeah.
the automatic answer was energy.
Yeah.
Maybe, but as that changes, then these clusters will lead to change. Is that the idea?
And that's the idea there, because again, as it was a lot more easier because we knew these are the kind of mechanics we need, or here's the type of welders we need, or here's what we need in terms of people working on heavy equipment, or these different areas. Now we're diversifying. We're looking at a number of new types of work that are becoming available here in the region. So how do we prepare our constituents here
Right.
for those new opportunities? Or possibly how do we begin to retrain displaced workers as they look at the possibility of having to possibly change careers if they're going to stay in the area? So those are some things we're looking at too.
I see. And I don't want to alarm the audience that I know that the energy industry is still a big part of the economy here in San Juan County, and it's not totally going away, but it certainly is changing. And then that's
Yes.
my point, is that cluster may be a smaller cluster in the future, and then make room for other labor clusters of other areas. And that's
Right.
what we're talking about.
Right.
Just so
Right.
don't
Yeah,
send
we
me your
don't- we
angry
don't-
letters, everyone. But I understand. So talk to me a little bit about some of these other entrepreneurship programs that you're talking about, and some of that is with maybe our closest neighbor, Durango.
Yes, Durango has been real successful in developing location-neutral type businesses. And again, they've focused their efforts in places where they can get good broadband, and basically been able to develop businesses to where a person doesn't need to be in an office or a building to do their job. They can connect through the internet and get their job done throughout the country.
They can live
So-
anywhere they want. They don't have to necessarily live near an office,
That's
because
right.
the office is in their den or
Right,
wherever,
exactly.
dining room table.
It's simply where that computer is at.
Right.
And so Durango has seen some really good success in developing that type of industry. We have some real advantages, and they've been very frank with us that we do have advantages down here in the Farmington area, Aztec area. And so again, we're looking at how we can start working with them to build these incubators and accelerators. We've got one right now at San Juan College here, but we want to continue to work and see how we can expand this overall effort and really begin to support entrepreneurship. Because again, the way we've done business back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s is much different than what we're looking at today. You see,
I'm much too young to remember any of that, Arvin Trujillo, but I'll take your word for it if you tell me that that's how it was.
You know,
you're
I-
exactly right.
I look back at that. I kind of look at that, and I call that the IBM model, where you have
Right.
everybody there. You have individuals who say, "I'm here with the company," and this is nothing to shy away from. I mean, you have people who, with pride, and they should be proud. You know, working for a company 30, 40 years,
Sure,
and
exactly,
saying this
right.
is what we did, and look at what I've been able to accomplish. But you look at the younger folks now. They're not looking at that type of career. Let's use my boy as an example. He's been out of school now 12 years. He's had 4 different jobs.
Right.
And he's moved. And in fact, the way he's moved in seniority is moving to another job and taking on more responsibility. And so again, it's a different philosophy that's being utilized now. And so again, we're looking at how we can build around that for our own benefit and for the benefit of the region here.
Very good. My guest this morning, Arvin Trujillo, is here. He is the CEO of Four Corners Economic Development. And one of my favorite topics is to talk about a possible railroad coming into San Juan County. That's still on your list, which I take is a good thing, but I know it's an expensive project. It'll maybe take a long time to get it to work. You certainly need the help from other entities. The county can't build it on its own. Certainly the tribe should be a partner with that, and I bet that they are. But what's the latest on the conversations about rail service?
Well, right now, the latest conversations really is looking at how we might be able to partner. We've had initial discussions with the Navajo Nation. There is interest in looking at this whole project. The state
It would benefit the nation
that
as
would
well as the
benefit
county,
nation
right?
as well as the county, really would benefit the Four Corners
The region, that's true. There's been
the-
studies that have proven that, I think,
Yes.
too. And we're not just talking out of our heads, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so again, we're looking at that piece. We're looking at, I mean, the state is beginning to grow some interest in what we're trying to get accomplished here, and you see the benefits of doing that. And they're seeing the benefits of possibly expanding that discussion to the neighboring states. Because again, Southwest Colorado, Southeast Utah, even Northeastern Arizona, which is mainly the Navajo Nation, they would be interested, and that would open the doors to them for further development if we were able to get rail here.
Right.
Because now they have that possibility of also recruiting new types of industry into their area, whether it be in agriculture or maybe healthcare, IT services, different types of manufacturing. there's all those possibilities that open up within the region,
Sure.
which then builds on our marketing and our branding efforts here also.
Now, I'm not familiar with the railroad maps of this country, but it seems to me that the closest rail line to the Four Corners region is either the I-40 corridor south of us or the I-70 corridor north of us, and that's about it as far as rail service to the Four Corners. So if there was a spur to Farmington, that brings rail connectivity that much closer to all those regions, even in the other states that you're talking about. Even Durango would certainly be economically viable to use a rail service into Farmington than it would be to truck it up to a Grand Junction, let's say.
Yeah.
For example, right? Isn't that the whole idea of it?
That's the whole idea, because again, as you look at rail, or you look at maybe a dedicated long haul corridor, again, there are benefits because, Scott, you've seen our roads right now with the kind of truck haulage that we do on our roads right now with the ruts that begin to establish themselves and et cetera. There is damage being done to 550 and 491 with the increased travel. Rail would benefit that. We're looking at emissions. So not only would we see economic benefit, but to the infrastructure we have in place right now, there would be definite advantages to seeing if we can get rail or a dedicated long haul area within the Four Corners region that would essentially connect us. The easiest place would be connecting us to the I-40 corridor and along 491, because it's fairly level. And that's the big thing I see, as well as looking at the right-of-way aspects. You're really dealing with just with the Navajo Nation until you get further south, closer to Gallup. Then you have multiple owners in different areas. But again, you're seeing some of those things. And what I'm looking at there is the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project has looked at right-of-ways already. So again,
we're already building a pipeline along that 491.
Down 491.
Okay.
So again, that opens those doors to say, okay, there are ways that we can deal with right-of-way issues along that corridor. So again, those are some of the things that we're open to, and we're wanting to have discussions with the nation and the county to see if we can forge some partnerships to see about studying this and really looking at this really hard to see, does this make sense? And how should we go about getting this done?
Right. Well, I know there have been studies already, at least preliminary studies about rail, and a lot of it has always been that there's really no shortage of things that could be imported into the area, but the question is, what do you export out of this area? Because no one wants to run a railroad if you have cars half empty on half the trips. And so that's another part of this, correct?
That's another part of this. And what we're looking at there is seeing we can tie this, and I spoke about this earlier, and I hope to, at one point, we'll have a program where we'll really expand on this once I can get some things in place. But what we're looking at right now is to see if we can tie that into the development of a petrochemical industry here. Looking at a couple sites for a couple of plants, much like the same model that's been utilized in Pennsylvania to build their petrochemical plant there. And what they're doing there is they're taking natural gas and they're cracking that gas, and from that gas they are producing polyethylene pellets, which is used in the production of plastics. And so you have a high valued product that's being developed, and what the indications that we're getting right now is that if that were to be developed, and again, we have to verify this, and I'm just going off of what was done in Pennsylvania. Right now, they're saying that they would need about a unit train a day, or they would have about a unit train a day of product leaving one plant, which is about 100 cars a day that would be leaving the plant with produce or product.
Right. And high-valued product, right? I mean, this stuff is, we're not going to stop using plastics anytime soon, I'm afraid.
Exactly.
And we've certainly got a supply of natural gas in this basin. So there's that, right?
Well, again, you look at plastics. When you talk about plastics, people immediately go to plastic bags, plastic cup holders.
Sure.
But
there's
you have
lots
to remember,
more.
plastics are also utilized in industry.
Oh, for sure.
Piping.
Right.
And looking at different types of manufactured parts, parts to your cell phone are molded plastic, etc. And so again, it's looking at that industry and seeing how we might be able to utilize that to enhance the viability of a rail system here in the Four Corners.
Well, 100 cars sounds like it would be worth it, maybe, and help sell that idea. Maybe.
I think it could, but again, we'd have to take a look and really run the numbers through to see what that would come up with, and see how that rate of return would be at that point in time.
Of course, I understand that. Makes a lot of sense, but if it's not rail cars, it would be semi-trucks, and
Yeah.
there's probably a formula to figure out how many of those that would fill,
Yes.
too. So
Exactly.
there you are. Arvin Trujillo, we've run out of time, I'm afraid, this month, but
Okay.
I so appreciate you coming in and continuing to visit with me to keep us up to date on what you and your staff is doing over there. And again, continue good luck and come back and see us.
Well, thank you, Scott. And again, I appreciate the time that you give us, and look forward to continue to keep Four Corners involved and informed as to what we're doing here at Four Corners Economic Development.
Well, it's great. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's Arvin Trujillo, everyone, from Four Corners Economic Development, my guest here on KSJE.